God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." Genesis 1 verse 22 describes God's blessing upon the aquatic creatures and birds, accompanied by his command for them to be fruitful, multiply, and fill their respective environments. Let's provide a detailed explanation of this verse in English. God's blessing. The verse begins by highlighting God's blessing upon the aquatic creatures and birds. In the biblical context, divine blessing signifies favor, abundance, and prosperity bestowed by God upon his creation. By blessing these creatures, God demonstrates his care and provision for all living beings, ensuring their well-being and flourishing within their respective habitats. Command to be fruitful and multiply. Following the blessing, God issues a command for the aquatic creatures and birds to be fruitful and multiply. This directive underscores God's intention for these creatures to reproduce and propagate their species abundantly. It reflects the inherent drive for reproduction and the continuation of life inherent in all living organisms, fulfilling God's mandate for them to fill the earth and seas with their offspring. Population growth and expansion. The command to be fruitful and multiply signifies the importance of population growth and expansion within ecosystems. Through reproduction, aquatic creatures and birds contribute to the natural balance and diversity of their environments, ensuring the sustainability and resilience of their populations. God's design for abundant reproduction reflects his wisdom in orchestrating the intricate web of life on Earth. Fulfillment of God's plan. The directive to fill the waters in the seas and let birds multiply on the earth aligns with God's overarching plan for creation. From the beginning, God intended for the earth to be teeming with life, with each species fulfilling its unique role within the ecosystem. By commanding the aquatic creatures and birds to multiply, God ensures the fulfillment of his purpose for the natural world and the flourishing of his creation. Stewardship and care. Genesis 1 verse 22 also underscores humanity's role as stewards of God's creation. As caretakers of the earth, humans are called to protect and preserve the biodiversity of aquatic ecosystems and bird habitats. This includes conservation efforts to safeguard marine life, mitigate threats to bird populations, and ensure the sustainability of natural resources for future generations. In summary, Genesis 1 verse 22 portrays God's blessing upon the aquatic creatures and birds, accompanied by his command for them to be fruitful, multiply, and fill their respective environments. It highlights God's care and provision for all living beings, the importance of population growth and expansion within ecosystems, and humanity's responsibility as stewards of God's creation. Fertility and abundance. The command for aquatic creatures and birds to be fruitful and multiply underscores God's intention for fertility and abundance within the natural world. This directive emphasizes the inherent capacity of living organisms to reproduce and replenish their populations, ensuring the continuity and resilience of life on Earth. By blessing them with fertility, God demonstrates his desire for the flourishing and proliferation of all living beings. Ecosystem health and balance. The multiplication of aquatic creatures in the seas and birds on the earth contributes to the health and balance of ecosystems. These populations play essential roles in nutrient cycling, food webs, and ecological dynamics, maintaining the stability and functionality of their respective habitats. God's command for population growth reflects his wisdom in orchestrating the intricate interconnections and interdependencies within creation. Diversity of life. The multiplication of aquatic creatures and birds also leads to the enrichment of biodiversity across terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems. Each species occupies a specific niche and fulfills unique ecological functions, contributing to the overall richness and complexity of life on Earth. God's blessing and command for multiplication ensure the preservation and proliferation of diverse life forms, showcasing his creativity and providential care. Sustainability and adaptation. God's directive for aquatic creatures and birds to multiply reflects his provision for the sustainability and adaptation of species over time. Through reproduction and genetic diversity, organisms can adapt to changing environmental conditions and persist in challenging habitats. This adaptive capacity underscores God's wisdom in equipping His creation with the resilience needed to thrive amidst diverse ecological challenges. Cooperation with God's plan. Genesis 1 verse 22 invites reflection on humanity's cooperation with God's plan for creation. As partners in stewardship, humans are called to support the flourishing of aquatic and avian populations, respecting their intrinsic value and ecological roles. This includes efforts to conserve habitats, mitigate pollution, and address anthropogenic threats to biodiversity, aligning with God's desire for the well-being and abundance of all living beings. In summary, Genesis 1 verse 22 emphasizes God's blessing and command for aquatic creatures and birds to be fruitful, multiply, and fill their respective environments. It underscores the fertility and abundance inherent in God's design for creation, the importance of population growth for ecosystem health and balance, and humanity's role as stewards of God's diverse and bountiful creation.